So today we're going to look at percent of change. And percent of change basically comes down to how much did something change compared to where it started. And that comparison, when you take how much it changed and you divide it by where it started, you get a percent, and that percent is the percent of change. So if we go down and look at this real world link, they talk to us about the percent of change happening with racing at the Indianapolis 500. They say the Indy 500, one of the great motor races. Here are the average speeds of the winning races in the previous years. So we take a look at those average speeds. In 1922, it averaged 94 miles an hour. 1955, that had gone up to 128. 2010 had gone up again to 162. So whenever you're doing percent of change, we have two things that we use. We use, and I'd like you to write this in, how much it changed, that's always the first thing, and that's always divided by where it started. Make sure you get both those written in. That's nice. Should be good, easy to understand language. Percent of change will be how much it changed divided by where it started. So when we do this first set of years, they ask us for 1922 to 1955. It changed from 94 to 128. So it changed, and anytime you're doing that change, you're doing subtraction. It changed by 34 miles an hour. It increased, it went up. That's important to remember because percent of change is going to be either increase or decrease. It went up, and to see what the percent it went up, we're going to take how much it changed, 34, and divide it by where it started, 94. And we're going to get a percent of change of 0.361. And then we round that to the nearest percent, and we get 36%. So there was a 36% increase. Go ahead and write down that was an increase between 1922 and 1955. Second question is, write the increase from 1955 to 2010. So we're going to go back to our table. Let me grab a different color here. And now we're looking at that change. So we're looking at the change between 128 and 162. Now, you'll notice each time I'm doing the small number from the big number, that's what change is. Change is going to be like an absolute value. So in this case, 12 minus 8 is 4. I have to borrow from that. 15 minus 12 is 3. We get 34 again. So once again, the amount of change is 34, but the percent will be different because this time the where it started, this idea, will be 128. So this time we're taking 34, dividing it by 128, and we're getting 0.265. So let's just stick this down here. And we get 0.265. Rounding that to the nearest percent, we get 27%. We move that over there, those butt cheeks you hear people talk about. So you get 26.5. We're going to round that to 27%. So even though, and again, write this in. Once again, it is an increase. So even though the amount that it changed was the same, the percent is not. The percent depends on where it started, not just how much it changed, but where it started. Let's look at a couple of examples on the next page. Let me get rid of my calculator here. So notice, and this is one of those, you should remember this, maybe put it in your notes. You're going to get to take test notes again when you take this test at the end of the chapter. So you have two things going on. Amount of change. Let's write that maybe in easier to understand words. how much it changed. So that's the first thing you figure. How much it changed. And we're comparing that, and that's what division does. Division breaks into pieces. It compares. We're comparing that to the original amount, which, in simple terms, where it started, when you make that comparison, the answer you get is your percent of change. Now, percent of change can either be an increase or a decrease, depending on either an increase or a decrease, depending on whether it goes up or it goes down. So here are two examples. In the first example, we see the price of gasoline. In 1970, the price of gasoline was $1.30 a gallon, and by 2010, it was $1.95 a gallon, or $2.95 a gallon. So the first thing to do is to find the difference in those. Again, subtraction. The difference is $1.65. And then, let's scoot down here to the next part, and then take that difference and divide it by where it started. It started at $1.30 because we're comparing how much it changed between 1970 and 2010. And we get a $1.30 change, and that $1.30 change is roughly 127%. 1.27 is 127%. Again, just a quick reminder, when you see 1.27, to change it to a percent, you're moving that decimal 2 places and adding a percent sign. So you end up with 127%. Yes, things can go up by more than 100%. They can increase by more than where they started. All right, if we continue with these examples on the next page, we'll find an example for a decrease. So items like, this is a DVD player they're talking about. It's logical that a DVD player would have gone down in value. Things like electronics have all been going down. So once again, we've got the two parts. Let me go back for just a minute to the word part of the problem. He bought it for $280. It's on sale for $220. You would not go to a sale where the price had increased. Hey, we're selling this for more money. Come buy it. It's not a sale. So you know that it started at $280. It went down to $220. That's a change, in this case, a decrease of $60. So the amount it decreased divided by where it started, it's on sale for 21% off. Okay, so now you've got a couple got it problems. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to pause the video and work on this first got it problem, percent of change from 10 yards to 13 yards. When you do it, answer these questions. There are actually 3 questions. Question number 1, how much did it change? Question number 2, where did it start? Question number 3, increase or decrease? When we label it, we need to either label it as an increase or a decrease. These three questions are like, they're the whole thing of this. If you can remember those 3 questions, if this seems complicated, it really comes down to those 3 questions. How much did it change? Where did it start? Increase or decrease? So go ahead and pause the video, do problem number 1. Then we'll come back together and we'll solve number 1, or letter A, excuse me. And then, after we solve letter A, we'll give you a chance to solve B. So go ahead, pause the video, and then come back in a moment to listen to the answer. Okay, So let's go and do those three questions. We'll do them right down here. Question number 1, how much did it change? Well, for letter A, we'll actually do them right here. For letter A, question 1, it changed by 3 yards. That was the amount of change, 3 yards. Question number 2, where did it start? Well, it started at the 10. Question number 3, increase or decrease? It went up. So now that we know those three things, we're ready to do the math. And the math looks like this. How much it changed, the 3, divided by where it started, the 10. 3 divided by 10 is 0.3, which is 30%. And since we said it went up, it's a 30% increase. Look back at your work. If you did not get 30% increase for question A, you need to think back to what you did. Identify what you did wrong so you get it right when you get to part B. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to give you a chance. It says the price of a radio was 20. Now it's on sale for 15. What is the percent change in the price of the radio? So go ahead, pause the video, work that out, and then start the video up again so you can answer the question. And by answer the question, I mean you can check your answer to the question, which you're going to do while you have the video paused. Okay, let's discuss B. Change up the colors here. We're going to go green. We're going to go over here. Question 1. How much did it change? How much did it change? Well, it changed from 20 to 15, so it changed by $5. Where did it start? It was 20. That's the starting point. So it was $20. Question 3. Increase or decrease? In this case, it went from 20 to 15, so it went down. So now we're ready to solve it. How much did it change? 5 divided by where did it start? 20. 5 divided by 20 is 0.25, which is 25%. And since it went down, that is a 25% decrease. That's the answer. That's the answer to part B, 25% decrease. Okay, let's go ahead and check out some of the guided practice problems so you can try a few more of these on your own. So here we are in the guided practice problems, page 146. Go ahead and you're going to do the same thing that you did with the got it problems. You're going to answer those three questions. So there are your three questions. How much did it change? Where did it start? Increase or decrease? So for each of these problems, answer those three questions. How much did it change? Where did it start? Increase or decrease? Do that for each of these problems. How much did it change? Where did it start? Increase or decrease? Do that for each of these two problems, for 1 and 2, and then turn the video back on and we'll discuss those problems. Okay, problem 1. In this problem, it was 30 inches, it went to 24 inches. So 30 inches, take away 24 inches, it changed by 6. Where did it start? It started at the 30 inches. Did it go up or down? Well, it went from 30 to 24, so it went down. So now we just take these and put them right into our equation. 6 divided by 30. Well, 6 divided by 30, we can grab our calculator. Actually, you know what? Let's simplify. 6 goes into 6 once. 6 goes into 35 times. Now, you might want to grab your calculator, or you might remember that 1/5 is 0.2, which is 20%. If you had grabbed the calculator, and that's all right, and you had done 6 divided by 30, you would get 0.2. Since this went from 30 down to 6, we said it was a decrease, this problem showed a 20% decrease. That's the answer to number 1, 20% decrease. Okay, if you need to, if you feel like, oh, I just learned something there, I think I made a mistake on number 2, then pause the video again, take a look at number 2, check your work over, and then come back and turn things on. So for problem number 2, 126 to 150. So 150, take away 126. Have to borrow from that. Make that a 10. That's a 4. 24. So how much did it change? 24. Where did it start? Started at 126. Went from 126 to 150, so it went up. So now we can go ahead and build our percent change equation, our percent change ratio. That's what we're doing again, is we're building a ratio. The ratio of the amount it changed to where it started. So let me grab my calculator out. 24 divided by 126 is 0.0311. That doesn't look right. Oh, look, I put a 4 there instead of a 34, or instead of a 24. See, I looked at that. It was too small. So I'm going to start again. 24, there's the right number, divided by 126. You always want to make sure if it doesn't look right in the calculator, you go back and check it. Oh, that looks much better. 0.19. That is 0.19 is 19%. So this was a 19% increase. Since it went from 126 up to 150, this was an increase of 19%. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you do percent change. You've got some problems in the independent practice section that you can practice with, and then we'll come back. You're going to bring back to class any questions you have so we can help you figure out what parts you don't understand so you can be really successful with this idea.